We're starting off this edition of WION Dispatch with the biggest story coming in from Pakistan, where even after months of instability and a regime change, the political crisis is showing no signs of easing. The ousted Prime Minister of the country, Imran Khan, has emerged as a big headache for the ruling Shehbaz Sharif government. On Thursday, Imran Khan led a mega march to the country's capital. It was among the biggest rallies that the country has witnessed in years. The streets were swarmed with people. There were chants, flags and slogans. But right before Imran Khan was about to reach D Chowk, the final site for the protest, Imran did quite the unexpected. He called off that march. The disgruntled former Prime Minister instead gave the government an ultimatum to announce new elections in the next 6 days.
तो मैं आज यहाँ से ऐलान करना चाहता हूँ, इस इम्पोर्टेड हुकूमत को एक पैगाम देना चाहता हूँ। आपको मैं 6 दिन दे रहा हूँ। 6 दिन के अंदर आप इलेक्शन अनाउंस करें। जून के महीने में इलेक्शन अनाउंस करें। अगर 6 दिन के बाद ये नहीं करेंगे आप, तो मैं सारी अपनी कौम को लेके वापस इस्लामाबाद आऊंगा।
Imran Khan's march was historic in many ways. Ahead of Imran Khan's arrival, the Islamabad area turned into a fortress. There was police at every nook and corner of the city. But despite that, hundreds and thousands of people in support of the former Prime Minister flooded the national capital's red zone. The PTI convoy reached Islamabad in late hours of Wednesday, and when the sun rose the next day, there was smoke and agitated, breathless protesters. The reason was the scuffle that took place before dawn. Upon entry to Islamabad, the police shelled on the protesters to disperse them. There were also reports of PTI supporters throwing stones at the police officials. The atmosphere in Islamabad was tense. At around 2 a.m., the government even invoked Article 245 of the Constitution. They called on the army to guard important buildings in the capital city. Imran Khan called on his protesters, his supporters, to march till the capital on Monday. The next day, that is on Tuesday, the Shehbaz Sharif government announced a ban on PTI's Azadi March, as it was called. But to Imran Khan's luck, the Supreme Court came to PTI's rescue before the rally. The top court ordered the removal of the blockades and directed the police to grant a place for the demonstration. Even after the march was called off, the ruling PMLN filed petitions seeking contempt proceedings against Imran Khan. They said that Imran Khan had violated the court orders during the Freedom March. But as fate would have it, the Supreme Court disposed the petitions. Wednesday may go down in Pakistan's history ahead of the march. Many people anticipated Imran Khan's arrest. There were multiple assumptions, multiple possibilities doing the rounds. But as I said, what happened was unexpected. Imran Khan called off that rally, but he did make a point. He sent out a message. He showed the Sharifs that people are still with him even after his post was snatched away in what he calls a coup plotted overseas, quote unquote. With us on the broadcast this minute is our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik, joining us live from Islamabad. Anas, tell us more about the situation as of now. And you've been tracking that march all through since late last night. Describe to us what you saw and the scenes that unfolded.
Well, Molly, the scene right now is that it's calm and clear here at the D Chowk in Islamabad, where I'm standing. Behind me, this place, less than some hours ago, this place was posing as if it's a mini war zone, and right now it's all clear. So the PTI members who had marched on the call of Imran Khan have now retreated and have gone back upon Imran Khan, calling the march off and giving the government a 6-day ultimatum. Now, to your second part of the question, you rightly mentioned we've been tracking this Imran Khan's long march or Azadi march, as he says it, since Peshawar, since yesterday. And we covered it non-stop for about 21 hours from the moment he set foot in Peshawar, from Peshawar for Islamabad to Wali interchange in Mardan, then onwards to Swabi, Atak, and Hassan Abdal, and eventually to Islamabad. There was no place that we were not there. We were right ahead of him, and we covered that. But overnight, the situation deteriorated in Islamabad. We had been hearing about shelling being done sporadically in Islamabad to disperse the protesters. Following that court verdict to allow PTI marchers to come into the city, and the shelling intensified. Now, the magnitude can be understood that the shelling started roughly about 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Pakistan time, local time, and it continued for about 11 to 12 hours, at least until 6 a.m. in the morning is when we saw shelling being continued. People were boxed up, both the sides. From here, behind me, the D-Chowk area, the Parliament side, this is where from where the shells were being fired as well. The other side, that's the Jinnah Avenue, from where Imran Khan came in. That's also where the shells were being fired. Then the adjacent roads, the Nazimuddin Road and the Fazl-e Haq Road, from there shells were being fired as well. So that goes on to explain the magnitude of the situation,
yes,
on how hard and harsh that crackdown was. The government intended to try and to make sure that the protesters stay away. It failed, of course. The reason they resorted to the use of force. But what is to be noted is that unprecedentedly, we saw women, children, families staying back and negating the impression, that common notion that PTI is the party that does not have that hardened ground workers or support, and that was proven wrong over the night. Molly?
All right, and yet another surprise twist in that tale, with Imran Khan calling off that march, but now giving out an ultimatum for fresh elections to be called in 6 days. We're leaving it there for the moment. Anas, thanks very much for getting us that comprehensive overview of the situation on the ground. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.